Hello. How you doing? I'm Peter Schwartz. Some of you may know me from the Mac Pro Video and Ask Audio tutorials. I'm a composer, orchestrator, musical director, synth guy, as you can see. And I also create articulation switching systems for Logic. One is called SkiSwitcher, the other one is called ARTzID, and they're articulation switching utilities mostly for orchestral music. And as part of the process of developing that, I got very much into scripting. And so what we're going to be looking at today is a very simple script that processes MIDI data. I think it's fair to say that you won't need to have any prior scripting experience to understand what I'm doing. I'm going to explain everything. You need to know a little bit about MIDI, but I'm going to cover that as well. So before we get into any technical details, I just want to show you how this thing works. So let's go to Logic. There we go. I'll just explain what we've got going on here. I've got just 4 tracks. We're going to start with just a drum track. And I think what I'm about to show you is very similar to what Brian Eno did in the video that was actually the inspiration for Ronick of Ask Audio asking me to do this webinar. It's basically a script that takes a busy drum part and randomly prevents notes from getting to the plugin. So here's, as you can see here, this is the scripter. There's only one control. It's actually a very powerful control. And I'm not going to get into the script or anything just yet. I want you to see this and hear this in action. So here goes. This is just with this control at 0, which basically means the script is doing nothing. And it's just a simple drum part. It's nothing terribly special, but it's got a persistent hi-hat. And now I'm going to start turning up this control here. And the further to the right it goes, the more notes are prevented from getting through the scripter. So here's again, at 0, it's not doing anything, but the further to the right I move this control, so the further to the right, basically the higher I increment this value, the more the part gets thinned out. This can be a really creative tool, and I'll show you what I mean. I've got a couple of other tracks here, and I'm going to turn off the scripters that I do have on them so that you can hear the original, and then you can hear what the randomization is doing to each part. So here's just a drum part, a little piano noodling thing, a synth part, and a bass line. So as you can hear, it's just repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And now what I'm going to do is activate these randomizing scripts on each one and adjust the values and thin each part out. So that's the drums. Let's go to the piano. And now the synth part. So as you can see, just randomly thinning out these busy parts starts to make this kind of thing very, very musical and a lot more enjoyable to listen to. And one of the neat things about the scripter itself is that you can automate this control. So I'm just going to turn on, I just want to make sure that plugin automation is enabled. And in Logic, it's usually enabled by default, but I have a key command that I'm now hitting that I turn it on and off selectively. So I just wanted to make sure it was on. The scripter is a plugin like any other plugin. So what I'm going to do now is just run down a pass of this. I'm just going to start with the drums, and I'm going to use the randomizing control. Sort of almost like a selective muting, if you will. If this control is all the way to the right, 100, a value of 100, it's not going to let anything get through the scripter. So it's essentially muting the part. And if it's at 0, everything gets through the scripter. So I'm just going to sort of write a part that starts out thin, gets busy, and then maybe thins out again. So here we go. Let's try that one more time. I can also edit this. That's enough. Now I'll go to the piano and do a similar thing. This is a scripter that's on the piano track. I'm going to start with it pretty thinned out. I'll put the track in latch, and here we go. So I think you get the idea. Let's just throw this synth track on, and I'm just going to set that to a static value. Now, of course, playback is going to be different every single time because this is each one of the scripts on these tracks are generating random values, and random being random, you're never going to get the same thing twice. But what you can do with this simple script, which I'm going to show you the guts of in a second, is you can at least record, as you saw me do here, you can record automation for varying amounts of randomness, and at least create from loop-based music like this, at least create sections where your intentions are recorded. So here I started out with the drums thin, and then they get a little bit more busy, and then less busy, and it's kind of a cool way to use scripters and compose, just sort of with the universe selecting which notes are passed through the scripts and which aren't. And it gives you a certain amount of control over how much randomness. So it's not just purely random. This lone slider here gives you a lot of control.